Welcome back to the Transforming Mind to Transforming Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Marina Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Daniel Mirfield. Daniel is the author of Seedling, The Journey to Inner Peace. And today we're going to be talking on the topic, how to identify the seeds of negative energy and release them. Oof. Okay. So yes, negative energy is not something we want to be carrying around because it affects all the systems in your body and all your frequency. And I work a lot to stay in positive energy. Follow Abraham Hicks' teachings about energy and positive energy. And even Dwayne Dyer teaching on that. So I know how important it is. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're very welcome. And did you guys hear that beautiful accent? Daniel is calling all the way from New Zealand. In fact, I'm talking to him in the afternoon and it's morning on that coast already. So technology is amazing. So thank you, Daniel, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So let me give you guys an introduction to Daniel. He is a renowned healer and mentor. Daniel channels the power of nature to help his clients heal and recover from stress. His teachings, which can be found in his new book, Seedling, The Journey to Inner Peace, fuse ancient wisdom with modern times to help us navigate and overcome even the most challenging moments by listening to our intuition, staying grounded, and being aligned and centered, all while reacting from a place of peace and love rather than fear. Isn't that amazing? Yes, we all want that. So all right. So Daniel, let's dive right in. And the first question I want to ask, I want to go right to our topic. You teach that we can identify negative energy in ourselves and others and learn how to release them. So can you start off with that? How, first of all, can we identify the negative energy and how can we release them? And not only you're saying the negative energy in ourselves, but negative energy in people that we come into contact with. I am curious about this.
Yeah, and it's a super important topic because the moment we are born, we are absorbing other people's energies. So if it's from your parents, influential figures, teachers, even your brothers and sisters, you can form a personality or a concept of life that is drawn on someone else's experience. But within this life and within this moment, it's about your physical embodiment, your experience, and your identity. So you could grow up your whole life living someone else's storm of not actually being aware of who you are. So the energies that can control us are placed upon our embodiment from the moment we are present within this physical form. So as the kind of we grow up in the physical form and we grow personalities and we grow into the world and we have different concepts, if we don't get given the knowledge of freedom, where someone teaches but doesn't project, or they don't teach but not to control, we can then make decisions for ourselves. So the energies that we absorb are typically driven by control. It's a logic-based reality. So logic has kind of two factors, the efficiency and control, or the efficiency to control. Whereas when we look at our mental health and the energies that run through us, through our embodiment, it's about the freedom of choice and will to be able to be at peace. So, for example, if someone has quite a strong feeling on a certain topic and they're constantly projecting on that will be absorbed into your embodiment, and you can carry those problems around with you for large portions of your life, and not knowing that they're unnatural to who you are. They're unnatural to the actual source within inside of you. So when we diagnose kind of the energies that are part of us, it's not just our physical experience on this planet and the people that we surround ourselves with. It is absorbed from past family members, past trauma experiences. So it's a deep dive into actually the energies that control our physical reality to the actions that we take in day-to-day moments. And if you live in the past, it's fear. If you live in the future, it's anxiety. But if you live in the moment, it's freedom. And we fail to live in that moment because we have our control has been taken away from us, and we are trying to get it back. And the only way that we know we can get our control back is by taking it from others. It's this nasty cycle of energies that is just transferred from one to the next, one to the next. And there's no moment to stop and realize and appreciate the value that we have for this life and the lessons that we're meant to learn within this lifetime, within the physical form. So we reject ourselves to fit a system that doesn't identify the individuals. And now we're coming back full cycle. You'll start to see that groups will kind of tear off, and they'll build their own communities because they will look to people as an individual. They'll look, because within your experience and my experience, I will never know your experience. No one will ever know your experience apart from you. You are unique. You are this person, and everything that you've experienced is for you. But if I said, well, hang on a second, I don't know your experience, but I'm still going to treat them as the same, that means I'm removing your identity. I'm removing everything that you stand for. So we have to look at people as an individual, because it is unique to that embodiment, to that experience, to this world. And when we look at people individuals, we're bringing respect to the table. The transfer of energy that the conversation holds, or the experience, or the moment of peace, respect, it should be present always. But we lose the value of respect because the energies are controlling the way that we operate, and it's normally been placed upon us from a young age, and then it just kind of evolves into a kind of like this nasty cycle of trauma and pain and hurt and anger. But when we take a step back, and then we realize that our judgment is controlling the energies and the way that we see people, we realize that we've never had that respect. We've never had that value for life, or the individual and their identity.
Okay. All right. So as you were talking, where I'm going with, my own personal experience is that you're correct. I mean, my example would be, you mentioned that as soon as we're born, we started getting energies from our surroundings, our parents. I don't understand how we can get them from our, our ancestors, but I can dive into that in a minute. But what my experience has been is that you're right. Racism is a form of that. You pick up the values. Racism, political opinions you pick it up from your parents. And if your parents, teach you to hate someone, then you have that energy in you. And maybe when you see someone, you are not, like you said, you're not looking at their identity, you're looking at this energy. So the energy that we're talking about here is, we all know that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So are you talking about the energy of our bodies? Or are you talking about, I don't know. Yeah, explain the energy that we're talking about first.
So when we look to energy, we look to nature, and nature is the divine source. So we actually spend most of our lives rejecting nature because of the system that we fit in doesn't really identify it. It's kind of like this thing that lies in the background, and we kind of don't really pay much attention. But if you actually observe it and appreciate it and be present within nature, it has every answer that we need, and it unlocks doors to energies that are inside of us. So every kind of conversation we have, every action we take, every memory we hold, every kind of like life experience that has been placed upon us from day-to-day routines, or as the years go by with birthdays, celebrations, and all these different moments in life, it is all a transfer of energy. So with the way that nature grows is a network, a divine network of sources that communicates across the planet, across the nature, across the universe. And because we are logic-based, which is only a small percentage of who we are, it's very, very minute to our true potential, we are minimizing the way that we operate. We are minimizing our senses. We are minimizing the way that we feel, the way our emotions. And the actual drive within the energy is the awareness within our mindset, within who we are. So that transfer of energy
So are you talking about the ether energy here?
I'm talking about the divine source energy, the
The
network
divine
that
source energy.
communicates
All right.
across.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah. So when we look to ourselves, we have to look to nature. Nature is the example that we have to kind of be part of. We have to understand ourselves. We have to understand the workings of nature, the divine feminine and divine masculine, because we have both those. We have the feminine and masculine within our embodiments, but we're obviously our physical identity only has the purification of one, divine masculine or divine feminine. So
Mhm.
when we kind of look to nature and the balancing principles of life, that represents energies that flow through us. So our healing source, that we can have all this trauma of energies that are placed upon our reality that we never discharge, and it literally manipulates it with our actions. It charges our emotions. It creates traumas and events that aren't necessary or can be prevented, because we're not at peace within the structure in which nature is designed. So simple life experiences that became triggers. You say, for example, when you were younger, you had a traumatic period, and you didn't process that energy. You were unaware of the energies that could become a chain, and that chain grow with time, and that chain can have many thousands of links throughout your lifetime. But it's the source. It is the divine connection within the energy, within nature, that has that moment to release it. So if you can find that first link within that chain, all those other chains can either disappear or become easier to understand and work through. So nature is our identity as regards to the principles of life, the way that we operate, the values that we hold. Just look at a family having a meal around a table. That is one of the most divine moments. You're sharing an experience with love, harmony, food. All these elements that we should experience, but we ignore. We have fast food. We don't sit down. We don't talk. We don't even share those moments. And it's a simple principle of life that we ignore because our system doesn't recognize that we are individual identities that have energy running through us, and the way that we operate shouldn't be under control. It should be under love and harmony.
Okay. I love that. Yeah, I have an appreciation for nature. I walk in it every day. And I was reading a book once, I think it's Sadhguru's book, that talked about energy. Nature is connected to Gaia, to the source, right? And so when I walk in nature every day, I actually pray. Even this morning, I was doing it. I pray to God and ask the trees to send my prayers up. So tell me what's going on there. What's explain to someone that's listening and doesn't understand what the energy of trees or nature would be. Anything. You're including the oceans, I'm assuming, in nature, right?
Every element within the universe. So because it's a network and because it is divinely balanced through masculine and feminine, certain elements like water and the earth are very feminine, and then you've got the fire and the wind, which are very masculine.
Okay.
But because they're divinely balanced and divinely connected across all, your status within this world is to become part of that element, is to become part of that network, is to become a source that is connected within, because it's not just the 2D or 3D forms that we see ourselves in. It goes beyond that. There's worlds beyond that world that we can connect in with nature that bring harmony and peace and love. So that is just the foundations, the building blocks to being in nature. And we're so impatient with our minds, and we're so judgmental to our actions, that we remove simple aspects of life of being able to sit and absorb the energy, ground ourselves, listen to nature, activate our feelings. So a lot of people, they have they mix feelings and emotions. A lot of when we're talking emotionally charged, they charge our emotions and they think they're their feelings. Well, emotions were not meant to charge. Emotions, they're an experience. We're meant to hear. We're meant to, at our wedding, we're meant to feel those exposures. We're meant to feel. Sorry, we're meant to feel these emotions that But when we look at our feelings and when we walk into nature, we're looking at our gifts. Our gifts are that we see, we hear, we smell, we touch, we taste. So we are activating a part of ourselves that has been overcharged with emotions. And these emotions do not let our feelings come through. They are there, and they're an uncontrollable action that controls every trauma, every trigger, every kind of anger and different elements to our lives that have been placed upon our reality. But when we move our emotions to the side and then we concentrate on how we feel, and then we walk into nature, we're walking in with the simple lesson of learning. Like simple conversation. You can learn more of a conversation than listening than actually talking. Or observing the way that birds operate, or the way that animals operate, or the way that the circle of the trees drop, and how certain elements of nature. All those are connected to our feelings, our gifts, what we're here for to experience within the physical form. So it is the building blocks to a divine connection, but we have to start to understand ourselves, understand that what we're capable of, to be able to place ourselves in that position to appreciate the physical form. And we ignore our feelings, and we charge our emotions, and we just repeat the same repetitive patterns over and over again.
Yeah, that's good. So yes, the ocean, just here a couple of weeks ago, excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, because my sister's sick, and I told her that we were going to go to the ocean for therapy, because I know the ocean has a lot of healing energy. So our topic is releasing negative energy. So let's say that I'm walking in the park with trees and I'm listening to the birds, or I'm walking on the beach and listening to the waves. How do I physically release that negative energy? What do I do?
The first thing is to ground yourself and place yourself in a position of love. So we kind of like, we want to go natural, walk barefooted, touch trees, talk to them. People, even if someone nowadays, if someone walks past and you're talking to a tree, they might look at you a bit weird. But at the end of the day, is
I talk to my trees. I name them and I talk to them because I walk there every day.
Yeah, I love that, and they will talk back. It's not the way that we perceive life as in the physical form, but they'll give you messages, and they'll give you messages where during the day you get synchronizations, or you get certain elements that they're supporting you and they've heard your message, or they're aware of what you're looking at. So when we're holding negative energy, first we have to activate our feelings, and then it's the positions we put ourselves in. So if we keep putting ourselves in negative placements or positions, or surround ourselves with negative people, we're like self-sabotaging the way that we want to heal. And we have to, some stage you've got to step and go, this routine that I've got myself in, I'm charging my negative energy consistently and not allowing myself to heal. And stepping back and making that decision, it might be hard at first, but at the end of the day, it's not helping your mental health. It's not helping the energies that you absorb and stuff like that. So our placement within putting ourselves in difficult spaces is a critical way to the way that we can heal, or how we heal. So activating our feelings, difficult spaces, and then being accountable and responsible for our actions. That is another way for negative feelings. So when we look out to the world, it is easier to do the wrong thing than do the right thing, just as long as you don't get caught in the rules and regulations. Well, rules and regulations have to have divine principles, and those divine principles are part of nature. They are the universe. They are the building blocks of life. So when you're looking to your mental health and your awareness and your love and your harmony, and the negative energy that you seem to be carrying around, that moment of accountability and responsibility, you can naturally release negative energy, because you're saying to your mind and your spiritual connection that I'm going to do the right thing here, and I'm not going to accept this negative energy. I'm going to really stand up for who I am and bring peace into my life. And as soon as you start doing those little steps going forward, these negative energies that form within your reality, or of control the way that you operate, they slowly start to remove themselves. And this is just the very tip of the iceberg. This is the start of the journey, but it is a critical step, because your feelings are bringing an awareness to your actions. Your actions bring awareness to your accountability. And if your accountability is in the line to the love and harmony and the principles of life, you can transform the way that you operate within this world to just to a place of care and love and harmony and peace. And people say, oh, I will never get peace. That's because you're always fighting against yourself. We're not here to fight against ourselves. We're here to embrace life in the physical form.
Right. So that's good. So yeah, so we use nature to help us release our negative energy. You said, walk barefoot, talk to the trees, touch them, or yeah, you're walking on the beach, walking the sand, walking the water, things like that. So that's good. But you also say that we can pick up negative energy in other people. Now, when I look at that, I look at people, we can all feel each other aura and each other energy. People are always saying to me, oh, I love your energy, because they can feel it. But I can also feel, I'm not sure if I can pick up positive energy, but I can pick up negative energy, because people always know when someone is bringing negative energy. You walk into a room and you bring this negative energy with you. So what can we do if we're in communion with someone with negative energy? What can we do about that?
And this is one thing that a lot of people kind of work towards in life. It's that ability to recognize it and not accept it. And that's negative energy. So we're built with a mindset that if you see negativity, you'll experience it. If you see positivity, you'll experience it. So if someone within your reality is being negative, and you see that negative energy, and our energy within our empowerment and within our physical form, we create an aura. And that aura is actually divinely connected to our feelings. So the activation of our gifts creates a secure boundary that we can detect energies before they're placed upon our reality. So this relationship within our mind, body, and soul is a slow but a delicate one at the start. But as soon as we build this aura, and as soon as we walk into a room, you can pick it up and you can go, oh, that is not for me, And then it's that single motion of saying, I'm not going to accept it. And by not accepting it, and you're going to turn that stance to a positive one, you'll start experiencing positivity. So then the positive people start surrounding yourselves. So it's like a beacon within your world. So if you put a beacon out of negative energy, you're going to attract negative people. But if you put a beacon of being positive and not accepting a negative, you will start attracting the same like-minded people. So our empowerment is purely down to recognizing who we are. So we never try to be someone else. But at the moment that we recognize who we are and start supported by being positive, those situations that we may come across a negative person, they don't affect us because they're not aligned to our true self. They're not aligned to our true values. And if a moment of kindness and peace within that negative moment, if you're in a conversation and you're being positive, it's surprising that how many negative people can be positive as soon as you put positive spin on it. As soon as you project out to the world that I am positive, I am going to bring peace to this moment. I am going to change the situation for the better because I know who I am. And the moment that we know who we are is a moment now we're connecting to our divine journey while we're meant to be here.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Yeah, because I'm a traditionally positive person, and I have a lot of positive energy, and people pick it up after talking to me for like seconds. So yeah, that's what I said. I mean, I'm not around a lot of negative people. I might be around some people that are thinking negative thoughts. And one of the things I learned from Eckhart Tolle is to be in the now. And if you're in the now, because the negative thoughts are usually in the past or the future, what's happening to you now is usually not negative. So I've learned to, whenever I see a conversation going to the negative or the past or whatever, then I say, hey, you know what, let's stay in the now. So that is how I handle that. So that's amazing. So you're an energy healer, obviously, as we are seeing with this conversation. How do you tap into fears and release them for healing? So I'm assuming that fears have a form of energy, right?
Yeah, so fears are actually an unnatural place within the world. And that's where they charge your emotions. So if you're charging your emotions, they're placing a status of control over them. So it could be fear, could be anger, could be stress, could be anxiety. All these elements are natural. They're an end product. They're just the outburst of what your body's saying, and not recognizing the experience. So within our awareness, and when we recognize when an event happens, we have to process it. We have to understand it. We can't leave it and then let 6 months later this experience has just evolved to an uncontrollable state that has created fear within our reality. So these elements of emotions that are kind of manipulating the way that our body operates is a status of control. So with fear, and with any situation in life, positive or negative, we always look to the source. And the source, sometimes, if it happens many years ago, we may never identify it. Mm-hmm. But within that moment, and within that moment of fear, we can identify why we're feeling that way, why we're operating that way. Is someone's energy had triggered me to instantly create this fear within my reality? Or is it a physical item? Is it a car, or a newspaper, or is there a physical item that has this control over me that every time I see or am part of has suddenly triggered fear within my reality? So fear is the end product. It is just your body saying, I'm being triggered again, and I haven't understood the actual start, the original experience, and I'm just putting myself in difficult spaces and not understanding who I am. So with our emotions, and when we're charging our emotions, one of the major stages of healing is the triggers that are attached to that emotions. And with like a lot of people get anxiety because they know it's coming. They know that like, for example, if they go to work every day and there's a certain time that they get anxiety or fear or stress or any of these elements, they know it's coming, but they still don't do anything about it. And it is that repetitive reaction of just consistently adding to this fuel of fire. And that's when we have to turn our attention to who we are. Because remember, our experience is unique to us. There is no one in this world that will ever know that fear, that anxiety. They'll never fear that fear, anxiety, but we can put ourselves in a positive mindset and space to work through these energies, to work through these moments that are triggering out and create and placing our body under unnatural stresses, because all those are unnatural. So when we look at actually emotions into the natural form, we're looking at the power of nature. So if for example, you saw a tiger and you think, oh, this is the last moments of my life, it is the physical power of nature and the unique divine source. That element within ours is an emotional attachment. Or if it's, like I said before, a wedding or a birthday or anything like that, we're here in the physical form. We're not here to control those emotions. We're here to experience them. So when the emotions are controlling us and placing our body under stress, that's when we have to kind of change our routine, change the elements, bring our awareness. And a lot of people put, so the way that control works is they divides or separates, it categorizes, and it controls. So if you go into your day-to-day lives and then you're instantly trying to divide or separate areas that don't need to be divided or separated, and then you start to categorize them, and you go, oh, I'm categorizing you, I'm categorizing this situation, and then all you're going to do is try and control. That's the way that logic works. So we live in a fully 100% logic system. Whereas if that's a small percentage of our brain, say, let's say 10%, I don't actually know the correct amounts. What happens to the other 90%? Well, that is controlled through the divine connection. That is and we need logic to build houses, be innovative and stuff like that. But that other 90% of our brain and our connection to the masculine, divine masculine and feminine, that operates under no control. The moment of freedom. The valuable status. So fear is an end status. It is something that we create a theme within logic to control. So we have to kind of step out of that logical world, place ourselves in the divine world, and then digest the way that our awarenesses, our actions, our experiences, our evaluations of life, our terminology, all these different elements that have been forced upon us, that are unnatural to the way that we see ourselves. And if we can operate within that different realm within our lives, we activate the internal light, the divine source, the connection within the whole of the universe.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like what you said about, we know that our anxiety is coming, but we don't do anything about it. We just, Groundhog Day. Yeah. And I like how you separate fear of something physical or fear is emotional. Now, I teach a lot on fear, in my coaching world, because we always say fear means false evidence appearing real. So a tiger is a physical thing and you should fear it. Or a car accident, or people that, have fear of flying, maybe it's physical. But a lot of times what we're fearing is nothing. It's all our minds just conjuring up that. It's an emotion, like you said, and it's attached to a source. And sometimes we know the source and sometimes we don't know the source. But I like also what you said, that, it's just 10% of our brain that's attached to this fear. And to release it, we should connect to 90%. That's, divine energy, the unified fields. So we know that we can go in nature and do that. Is there another way to do that?
Education to me is a big part of our physical experience. And when we kind of educate, even if it's just when we look at, so the structure, the way that the world operates at the moment, the education system's very leaning to only like 1% of benefit, and that doesn't even benefit the 1%. It only benefits the people that make money. So the whole structure that we have doesn't benefit anybody, doesn't benefit their identity. But when we look at education, and when we're connecting with ourselves, we put ourselves in experiences that we're willing to learn and willing to understand. And that willingness to understand means that we're willing to accept that moment and attract energies that benefit our experience or our reality, and we grow as a soul. Because there's many millions and millions of different avenues that you could take within your life. And when we connect in and when we move forward, the big thing for me is that by educating yourselves, you already have the answers inside of you. You're just unlocking that. You're unlocking the book, the key to the book, opening the book, and then reading directly from the book. But we have to educate ourselves to get to that stage of unlocking the answers from inside of us. And that's slowly, and when I say education, it could be learning about animals, or something connected within nature, or the principles within the families, or it doesn't necessarily, and when we say education within a logical, it's all scientific. It's all scientific. You don't have to prove everything to know it's real. You just have to know who you are. And that knowing of who you are puts yourself in positive spaces. It's the people that fear that they don't know, that they can't prove it, so they fear they can't live it. And that fear of not being able to live it is the fear of not being at peace within themselves. So we have this kind of cycle where the more we educate ourselves, the more we're aware, the more that we understand, not just our culture that we live in, all cultures. Like every culture has wisdom with every moment. So by expanding your consciousness, by connecting in with different parts of the planet, by just relaying information and expanding your knowledge, helps with that divine connection and unlocking that book within inside of us.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that. Okay. So I love this nature part of it, because I've always loved nature. I mean, yeah, I love nature. Let's put it that way. I love everything about it. But and I also practice meditation when I'm in nature. So let's talk about that for now, for a moment. So you said that we can harness the healing powers of nature and cultivate a practice of meditation and self-reflection. So how do we combine nature and meditation and self-reflection? What are some of the things that we can do?
So for me, when I was channeling this book, and we went through this the chapter of meditation, they kept taking me back to one scenario, and that's that scenario of avoidance. So when we're in our busy worlds, and we've either got family or kids, and then we go, oh, I'm just going to go to meditate or yoga or some state of connection, we go there to avoid. We don't go there to connect. And they kept bringing me back to that before you go into meditational state, you have to clear your day. You have to create a new space. You have to recognize that I'm going to step into a place of self-awareness and harmony. So I've got to recognize every event of my day. So I make a point now of before I go into meditational state, I'll sit down and I'll think about my day for 10 minutes. And then I'll get up, every action, conversation. And if it was something awkward, I would say, yep, I'll think about it and then I'll release it. And then I'll carry on through my day. So I'm processing the whole of my day and saying, I accept that day. That's an experience that is part of me now. I can never change that. But I'm now going to enter a self-care, self-love. And that is not welcome within this moment, because a meditational state is a point of separation. So you allow your physical form to ground. You allow your physical body to become a state within either the nature or wherever you practice your meditation. And then our soul separates. So we see a higher level of consciousness within the planet. So we operate on a different platform to be able to receive messages. Because when we go to the spiritual realm within the state of meditation, we are shutting off that logical platform that's controlling us, and we're going to a unrestricted value. And the energies, if you go into a state of meditation, you'll struggle to get to that spiritual realm if you're going to a place of avoidance, if you're not clearing your day, if you're not clearing the energy and the spaces before you enter into that state. But if you enter into that state and then you go to that higher physical form or the spiritual connection, you're receiving messages that you may be ignoring during the day, and they're just reaffirming those simple principles of life. So nature, it's like a big warm hug. If you go into and you go to meditate, it'll ground that physical form, and it'll release your spiritual connection. And that spiritual connection is that network. It is those principles of life. So your awareness or your healing within nature is a slow, steady journey. But all you're trying to do is receive and then send. So you send positivity, you receive what they're willing to give you. You're not dictating or creating narratives of what you wanted to receive. You're just being open to receiving. And that simple allowance of being open to receive is healing in itself. So the motion of control is left at the door. It is left when you remove your day. It is left behind, and that space is closed before you go into a meditational state. And that was one thing that my guides wanted to reiterate, that we don't go to avoid, we go for self-love and self-care.
That's good. I meditate in the morning, so I'm not looking at my day. But I follow Deepak Chopra, and he'd always said that you should do a 15 to 30-minute meditation at the end of the day for reflection, just like you said. So maybe I'll incorporate that, because it will definitely help me sleep better. So that's good. So, and I also like what you said about, when you're going into meditation, you're leaving the logical behind and you're attaching to the spiritual realm. And if you haven't released, then you're just avoiding. You're just sitting there to avoid maybe doing something else. I like that. So I should definitely, when I do my meditation, make sure that that's basically what I'm doing. I'm connecting to receive messages. My meditation is more focused on relaxation, right? Not necessarily connection. So yeah, I need to add that element. So that's great. Okay.
Yeah, it's all part of learning, and we're always learning. We're the eternal student, forever and ever. So.
Well, that's why I do the show, because I get to speak to luminaries like you, and I learn, So yes, I'm always definitely learning. All right. So tell us about your book, Seedling: The Journey to Inner Peace. We didn't talk about inner peace yet, so maybe we can add that element here. We've talked about releasing energy, and I guess when we release energy, when we release negative energy, we find peace. But where did the word seedling comes from? I would love to hear how that corresponds to what we're talking about.
So the first image I saw before writing the book was the Seedling, and within our world, we ignore our mental health. Our kind of physical form goes on to autopilot, and then we absorb all these negative energies, as we kind of like touched base on earlier. But the seedling itself, when it grows strong roots before it grows tall. If it grows tall with no strong roots, it just collapses. So they showed me that the roots that go deep are your mental strength. So your mental strength is strong before your physical form is formed. So that tree that grows tall and high and wide is all supported by the roots, and the roots are our mental health. So we avoid our mental health to fit the system, but without deep, strong roots, we are likely going to collapse. We are going to, at some stage, we are going to topple over or whatever. So the roots are the symbol of our minds, but the mind side of our mind, body, and soul. So the seedling has to grow deep within the roots to go strong.
Okay, so tell us about your book.
It's a channel book. The book is deep as in the extent that it's everything that we're avoided. So there's practical elements in there where we talk about the balancing of the world, spaces, energies, our feelings and emotions, triggers and addictions, and then our family DNA. So it is a channel guide from my guides that say that healing is a slow journey, but it's in the book. If you kind of dive in and you read a paragraph and stuff like that, you can think about that paragraph for 2 weeks. But it's a practical form to helping people start off to be able to put themselves in positive spaces and create that relationship with inside themselves. And I believe any kind of healing has to be practical. I believe that if you kind of take the element to a connection where you're trying to get people to think about a different reality, a different realm, that they're ignoring their physical form, and we're here for the physical form. So the book is connected to our relationship within our physical form, and how we can bring peace into our lives and be aware of our past experiences, the situations that have been placed upon us.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, I like that. Yeah, practical guide. Okay. And why did you write it? You mentioned about guides. Are you talking about spiritual guides? What guides are you talking about?
Yeah, my spiritual guides. So I've connected with my spiritual guides since as young as I can remember. They've been wanting me to write this book for many years, but I wasn't ready myself, and I believe that if you're going to be the best part of you, you have to do the work first. So I reconnected with myself, and then and when I felt the moment was right, I said, okay, let's do this. Let's write this book. So.
All right, so you got spiritual guides that help you write it. They helped you. Did they help you write it, or they just told you to write
it? So I received kind of like the images from several different ways. So if there was anything wrong in the book, it's my interpretation of the message that they were showing me. So you could see a picture, like if everybody looks at one picture, they can interpret it 1,000 different ways. So there was a lot of to and from me going, is that what you're trying to say? Am I right in what you're putting down? And they're happy in the end. So there was, if there was anything that was wrong, it was my kind of like the way that I was interpreting what they were telling me. But at the end, I got the big thumbs up. I got, yeah, that's it. So
that is beautiful. Yes, yeah, connected to your spiritual guides is a beautiful thing, right? So why do you think that they wanted you to write the book? You said they've been telling you to write it for a while. What is the message that we want to put out to the world? I think you answered it a little bit. You're saying that, yeah, as a seedling, our mental health, our foundation, our roots are more important than the tree, the branches, right? If I were to interpret that, what you're saying, is that why they wanted you to write the book, or is there another message?
Yeah, so those branches blossom when we have a strong mental health. And for me, peace brings out a different quality of life. So if I've had the honor of being able to have gifts where I can help people, I will use those gifts, and I will spread that message. And there's nothing more rewarding for me personally to see someone at peace, and to be able to, and for them to be in a comfortable space within life and making correct decisions for themselves, because it's all on the individual and their accountability and responsibility. But if I have a little bit of wisdom that can help someone, I'm happy to put that in a book, because there's more to life than the system that motivates the way that we operate at the moment. And I'm like I'm taking time off in a couple of months to go to Nepal volunteering, just helping out kids, because it is critical step to our life that we ignore to fit materialistic world. Whereas me personally, mental health brings abundance, it brings love, it brings harmony. So I'm doing it. I'm doing it to help people and let people be the best part of themselves.
That's beautiful. Love it. Yes, service always brings satisfaction. All right. So where can our listeners get a copy of your book? Tell us your website, your social media handles.
So my website is sagesjourney.com, and there's a link to Amazon for my book on there.
All right, say that slowly. Sage is what?
A sage's journey.
A sage's journey. Okay. All right.
And I rejoined social media this year from many years off, so I'm pretty new on Instagram and Facebook, and they're both a sage's journey as well.
Okay. All right.
And I also have a YouTube channel which are messages from my guides, and that's also a sage's journey as well. So they're all a sage's journey if you look on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or the website.
That's amazing. I'll definitely go and listen to your YouTube channel so that I can see your messages from your guides, because I've always been fascinated about spiritual guides. I do some meditations to try to connect to mine. I think that when I meditate in the morning, I'm opening up for them to send me messages, and a lot of times I do. I get messages, in the morning. So, but I'm not have any kind of formal connection. Just an opening, to receive inspiration. So I should say that. Yeah. So that's amazing. So you said that you were able to connect to your spiritual guides at a young age. How did that come about? What was your first experience of knowing that you have a spiritual guide and connecting to them?
Well, it used to happen in my sleep, but the step before that was I don't see words. I find words very difficult. A bit ironic because I wrote a book, but I find words very difficult because I don't see the words. I see the energy behind the words. So 10 people can say the same words, but their experience and the way that they attach their energy to that words is different. So one word can mean harmony and love, and the same word for someone else could mean pain and fear. So I was reading the energies behind the words. But as I was quite lucky when I was younger because I spent a lot of time in nature and around animals. But as I kind of remember growing up, I remember that me sitting up in the middle of the night and following my guides around my house, just at a young age, and they would always visit me, and I would just sit up in the middle of my bed, just.
You can actually see them. You don't just feel them; you see them.
Yeah, so I can sit there with my eyes open, and most places where I go now, if there's a spiritual element, I'll sit up and I'll be able to see that relevant spirit guide who kind of is the resident of that place. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a talent that I think everybody has. This isn't unique to me at all. They just got connecting with themselves and go on that divine path of inner peace. So, and as people start to kind of awaken that kind of light within inside of them, they'll connect in and they'll be able to understand life and a different part of life. So
I love it. I love that. I love that. Yeah, well, maybe one of these days that'll happen for me. I actually took a class once to connect to my spiritual guide, but I'm very poor at visualization. I'm the opposite of you. I'm very poor at visualization. I'm very audible. I can hear things, but forming pictures was very hard. And they're telling me to see your spiritual guide, and I didn't see nothing. So I stopped. I didn't even complete the class, but it's been a fascination to me. So that's amazing. So is your book an Audible?
I don't think, no, it's not an order. Oh, so it's on the is that the one on Amazon Prime, the
Right,
Audible
right.
one? I think,
Mhm.
yeah, Audible. Yeah, there's several different
Right.
types.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on
Okay.
Amazon for Audible.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So I'll definitely get a copy of it because I love to learn, and I love being able to be getting more from nature other than just me walking in it and talking to the trees. So I'll definitely pick up a copy of your book. So listen, Daniel, thank you so much for starting your day with this conversation. I know it's like 8 a.m. where you are. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and like you said, your gifts. When God gives you a gift, so that you can make the world a better place. So I'm glad that you listened to your spiritual guides and wrote the book. And yeah, the image of the seedling is a very powerful one, very powerful one. So thank you so much for being on the show. Guys, a transcript of my conversation with Daniel will be on the show page, blog.myhelps.us. I will link out to his website. I'll link out to his YouTube channel and Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to follow him, definitely pick up a copy of his book because, like he said, we could be sitting in something and not do anything about it. We're just like Groundhog Day. We know we're going to be anxious. We know there's fear, and we don't do anything about it. But we can do something about it. We can release it. We can learn and be educated because education is the way to go. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you guys for tuning in. As we wrap up, Daniel, any last words?
Thank you for sharing this space.
What was that?
Thank you for sharing this space with me.
Okay, you're very welcome. All right. So thank you guys. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, would love for you to rate and review and subscribe to the podcast. That way we can reach a wider audience. If you're watching this on YouTube, would love for you to subscribe as well. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.